question 28, we want to graph this in 3 different forms. Intercept form is a pretty easy form to graph in because we already have where it crosses the x-axis. So this tells me it crosses at x equals -1. You just set that equal to 0 and solve. This one, you get 2x minus 3 equals 0. Move the 3 over, you get 2x equals 3. Divide by 2, you get x equals 3/2 or 1.5. So I know I'm going to have 2 dots. I'm going to go on my graph to the x-axis. I'm going to put a dot at -1 and a dot at 1.5. All right, so I've got 2 points. All I need now is my vertex. So to find my vertex, I know it's along the AOS, which is exactly in the middle. And if it's hard to figure out, I mean, it is a decimal. If it's hard to figure out, you can always figure out your AOS by doing -1 plus 1.5, oops, 1.5, and then dividing by 2. So just adding the 2 guys together and then dividing by 2, that's going to give you 0.25. So I'm not going to draw it because it's really small, but the AOS is somewhere along this 0.25 x equals whatever line, but I need to figure out exactly where it is, so I've got to plug in 0.25 back into my equation. So I do y equals -2, 0.25 plus 1, 2 times 0.25 minus 3. So plug all that in, you get y equals 6.25. So that means my vertex must be, and I'm sorry it's not focused very well, 0.25, 6.25. So I found my x value by just adding those x values together and dividing by 2. I found the exact middle, plugged it back in to see where it crosses. It should be up here somewhere because my a value is negative, which means that my graph opens downward. So 6.25 does make that true. So I'm going to go over to 0.25 and go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.25. Rough best I can. Do your best to make it a smooth parabolic curve. Okay, that was terrible, but either way, put arrows on it and you're good to go. This next one is in standard form, so we do have to do a little bit more work to get it graphable. I need to find my vertex first. So to find your vertex, you're going to do x equals -b over 2a. So -2 over 2 times a half, I'm just going to put 0.5. So that's going to give me -2. So that's my x value. Well, I need to find my y value. I've got to find my entire vertex. So I already know that my vertex is -2 comma something. So I'm going to plug -2 back in my equation. So y equals 1/2 -2 squared plus 2 times -2 minus 5. If you have a calculator, I mean, you might as well use it. Just go ahead and plug it straight in. You're going to get -7. So my vertex is -2, -7. So I'm going to go ahead and graph that guy. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 down here. All right, you could make a table if you wanted to and just find values. I could easily, if I wanted to do it that way, I would go x, y, and I would put -2 in the middle, and I would pick maybe -1, 0, -3, -4, and you could plug those in. But I don't want to do that because I know a shorter way. I know that this is always going to follow a 1, 3, 5 pattern, so I'll do it over here. So normally it follows 1, 3, 5. But whatever your a value is, it's going to change that. So I'm going to multiply 1, 3, 5 times a half, times a half, and times a half. That's going to give me, so I've written it too close, but it's going to give me 0.5, 1.5, and 2.5. So from this dot, I'm going to go over 1 and up a half. From this dot, I'm going to go over 1 and up 1.5, so up a half and up 1. Same thing over here. From this dot, I'm going to go over and up 2.5, or we usually go up and over, but it doesn't matter. So up 2.5, 1, 2.5, and over. And I actually would know the next one. 7 times 0.5 is 3.5, so I could actually go up a half plus 1, 2, 3, and over 1. So I'm kind of getting into my work there. But either way, you could keep going up on this pattern. You just need at least, preferably 5, but at least 3 in order to get a good pattern. So there's that guy right there. The last one's in vertex form, which is the easiest to graph. Go up here to the equation and find your vertex. You should know transformations that this is going to move it left 2. This is going to move it down 6. So I should know that my vertex is -2, -6. But you can even just go left 2, 1, 2, and go down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And this guy also follows a 1, 3, 5 pattern. the a value is right there, so I'm going to do 1 times 3, 3 times 3, and 5 times, 3. So 3, 9, 15. So this follows a 3, 9, 15 pattern. So from this dot, I'm going to go up 1, 2, 3, over 1 both directions. From this dot, I'm going to go up 9, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and over. And I can do the same thing over, over there. This guy's tall and skinny, but that's it. So boom and boom. Do your best to make it a smooth parabolic curve. That one's pretty easy. Again, you have your calculator, so for all of these, you can just plug them in the calculator and make sure that the graph matches what you've done by hand. Question 29 says we must complete the square to rewrite the function in vertex form, and I've got to identify a max or a min value. So to complete the square, when you have a y included, you just leave that y there. So I'm still going to get x squared and x by itself, so I'm going to move that 1 over. So I'm going to have y minus 1. And then it's already going to be ready to go because it's got x squared and just x. So I'm going to go ahead and add myself some space. So I'm going to get x squared minus 4x plus some space. And then again, look at the b value. So even though this is the second thing, on that side, go over here to the x, and whatever's attached to the x, you're going to cut in half. So I'm going to cut in half -4 to get -2 squared. Add that to both sides. This side should always be the easy side. It should be x, and then whatever you have written there. So -2 squared. Over here, you've actually got to do the math. So what is -1 plus -2 squared? Well, that's 4. -1 plus 4 is 3. So we should get y plus 3 on this side. Vertex form wants it to be y equals, so just move this over. By minusing 3, you get y equals x minus 2 squared minus 3. So that's your answer for that guy in vertex form. All right, 29b, I just made a mistake, so I'm just rewriting it again on a separate sheet of paper. I also need to complete the square over here. So again, I need to get the x squared and x by themselves. So I'm going to move this 5 over, so I'm going to say y minus 5 equals -2x squared minus 12x. I have to get this -2 off of that x squared, so I'm going to go ahead and factor that out. And I can actually go ahead and do all of it at one time. So I'm going to go ahead and give myself space so I can do the complete in the square. And when I take out that -2, we don't want to factor out the x. We always want x squared left on the inside. So when I take out that -2, dividing by -2 on both these guys, I'm going to get x squared, and then -12 divided by -2 is a positive 6x. So now we're back to x squared and x, so completing the square will be pretty easy. So let's go ahead and add space there. Again, make sure you're paying attention to the b value, not just the second thing written down, but the thing that actually has an x attached to it. So half of 6 is 3 squared, and half of 6 is 3 squared. But this one has a little bit of a different trick to it. Because I have that -2 on the outside, that -2 is essentially multiplying by everything on the inside. So this 3 squared is actually times by -2. So go ahead and actually take that over and times by -2. That's the only thing different when you have a number outside. So I'm going to take and factor this guy over here. It should always be the same, so it's going to be x. Whatever that was, it was a positive 3 quantity squared. This one over here, just plug that right in the calculator. Type in -5 plus 3 squared, which is 9 times -2. Like, just plug that straight in. That's going to give me a -18 plus a -5 or minus -5 is going to be a -23. So y minus 23. And vertex form needs y by itself, so move that 23 over. And there you go.